Hello, you're welcome to Root Zone, your most authoritative education channel. Today, I'll be sharing with you some tips that will help you to attain success in your exams. Lee Bowman says that a vision without strategy remains an illusion. Passing an exam is a vision, but it requires the use of proper strategies to ensure that you attain that goal or you achieve that vision. Because if you don't strategize, then certainly you will not attain the success that you are envisaging. So, in this episode, we'll be looking at some strategies that you can employ in your quest to pass your exams with flying colors. So, let's begin. The first thing you need to do is to the format, understand the format of the exam. Is it going to be only paper one and two, or the subject you offer is practical oriented? So paper one in the Wassce refers to the objective test. Paper two refers to the essay or the theory, and a paper three is practicals. So when you understand the format of the exams, you will know how to prepare for the exams and you know how to allocate your time effectively for each of these papers so that your preparation for one doesn't outweigh the others, because the the marks or the score you attain for all of them is put together to grade you. So it is important that you understand the format. Now, you have to study smart. And in studying smart, there are certain strategies that you have to make use of. And the first one I'm sharing with you is active recall. When talk about active recall, it is a technique used to remember information without looking at what you are reading. So, for instance, if you read your note or you read from your textbook for 30 minutes, it is important you find out whether what you are reading is sticking or has stuck. How do you determine that? It is by making use of what we call active recall. So you write what you've learned or what you are trying to commit to memory in your jotter. During the process of writing, you will get to know whether what you attempted to commit to memory has successfully been downloaded into your brain. If not, then you repeat the process of learning that particular concept or that particular thing till you are able to commit it to memory. So it's important that you make use of active recall. These days, we are in the era of digitalization. There are electronic notepads available. They are not too expensive. If you can afford one, you get it, you write on it, you erase. This will save you some money. As if you are to use Jota for it all the time, you run out of sheet and you have to get another exercise book. But you buy this, you keep using it over and over and over again. So yes, that is active recall. Aside active recall, you can also make use of mnemonics. So this is a strategy that you can use to recollect information with ease and involves the use of acronyms, rhymes, chunking. So acronyms, you form words to represent something. So for instance, as you can see, we have FAO. FAO stands for Food and Agriculture Organization. You have Ministry of Food and Agriculture, which stands for MOFA, which stands for Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Then you have SDGs, which is Sustainable Development Goals. Then you can use chunking. So chunking has to do with breaking big information into manageable parts. So let's say, for instance, you are trying to commit to memory or trying to learn 12 steps of doing something. 12 steps is a lot to remember at a go. So what you do is you chunk it, you break it into parts. So let's say you decide to put it into three manageable parts. You will learn the four parts, the first four, then the second four, then the third four. So when you study the first four, you try to commit to memory, you make use of active recall, you write to check whether what you've committed to memory is still there. Then you do same for the next four. When you do for the next four, that's from point 5 to point 8, you also write and check whether it is there. You put everything together. So when you break them into smaller units or pieces, it helps you to be able to commit it to memory with ease and also enables you to recollect it. So it is important you make use of some of these strategies. Another important thing that a lot of students make use of, and it is something that I recommend that you continue to use it, is past questions. So past questions has to do with making use of previous exam questions or exam papers. And the idea or the objective is to get yourself familiar with the format and style of questions. To be successful, you need to know how the exam body asks their questions, the format. You need to understand. And the best material or resource that will give you this information is past questions. So you have to make use of past questions, and that will help you. When past questions also help you to identify which topics have been repeating, which topics has been reoccurring, then the kind of questions that has been asked in the past, which types of questions are running through, you'll be able to identify this, and that will also help you a lot. Aside that, past questions helps you to test your knowledge and, more importantly, test your speed under exam conditions. Under exam conditions. So if the paper is 2 hours, when you take the past question, you subject yourself to answering the questions within 2 hours. Some of the benefits, and before we look at the benefit, you have to focus on the 10 to 15 years, 10 to the past 10 to 15 years. You don't have to go and be looking at 30-year-old past question, 25-year-old. You try to look at the most current. So 10 to 15 years, it's recommended. Now, when you make use of past questions, it allows you to retrieve information like you are in a real exam. So when you subject yourself to the conditions of the past question, i.e., the time allotted for the question. So if it's a 2 hours paper, you sit for 2 hours and you try to answer the questions. So whilst you are retrieving information from your memory, it is helping you to reinforce how to engage in active recall in a real exam. So this experience will help you a lot, and it will make you feel prepared for the actual exam questions. So when the paper is put before you, you will not panic because you have worked on something similar before under similar conditions. So there will be no cause for alarm. Aside that, it will also help you to manage your time effectively. Whilst in school, I had a friend who everybody acknowledges that he is the best when it comes to mathematics, the whole school. He was the best mathematician. In fact, he's the best mathematician I've ever encountered. Yet, when the results came, he had C5. And some people were surprised that the best mathematician in the school had C5. Well, I was his close friend. I wasn't too surprised. It isn't that the questions were too difficult for him, but he had issues with time management. He was slow. But examination, you will not have the whole day to write the exam. You need to work within certain time limit. So if you make use of past questions and you subject yourself to the exam conditions, it will help you to improve your speed. So it is one thing to know, and it is another to apply that knowledge or show that knowledge on paper within a certain time limit. So when you make use of past questions, it will help you to improve your speed so that when you are able to manage your time effectively, you know that on the day you'll be able to get some extra minutes to go through your answers and make sure that everything you've written makes sense and the kind of words you've used, everything is in order. Also, you identify your weaknesses when you do this. You know which areas you need to work more on. All right. Aside that, another important thing that every student should have is a personal timetable. You must have your own timetable. It's very important. Timetable allows you to study at particular times in a day. You know exactly what to study and when to study. So it creates structure for you. You don't just go with the flow. You don't waste your time. It will keep you focused and prevent you from, engaging in last minute cramming. There are some people a day before exams, they will study for 24 hours. They will go to the library or go and hide in a corner, or they will burn the midnight candle. They will not sleep. They will try to force everything into their brain. You're not a magician. You're not a magician. You're not a magician. It wouldn't work that way. So when you have a timetable, it will keep you focused. And also, timetable helps you not to neglect any subject. Sometimes when you encounter challenges with certain subjects in school, subjects that you consider to be difficult, you may give more of your time to such subjects to the detriment of other ones. But with a timetable, you will learn how to balance it. You make sure that all the subjects that you are offering, all the subjects that you set for in the Wassce, they all get a representation on the timetable. And as you consistently follow your timetable, you build a steady habit. With time, you get to know your timetable without even making reference to it. You know that, okay, at this particular time, this is what I'm supposed to do. At this particular time, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where I'm supposed to be. And that consistency would help you to attain the success you are looking for in your exams. So let's go through some few steps that you need to consider or bear in mind when you are preparing your timetable. You have to list all your subjects, both subjects you consider to be strong and weak. Strong here means subjects that you find easy, and a weak one, subjects that you need more time. You need to dedicate more time to understand the concept, to understand certain concepts. Now, you'd have to identify your available study time. And to be able to achieve this, you have to list everything you do within the day. So when you wake up from the morning before school starts, what do you do? Write it down. School hours, you indicate it. After school, what do you do? Are you a boarder? If you're a boarder, what do you do before preps? At preps, what do you learn? After preps, what do you do before you sleep? Indicate everything. Your weekends, how is the weekend like? Are you a day student? If you're a day student, how's the weekend like? You need to identify everything, write everything down. When you do that, you will know where you have free time so that you can fix your personal studies at that particular times. And also you have to make sure you allocate more time to things you find difficult. If you are struggling with a particular topic or you have issues with a particular subject, make sure that you give more attention to that particular subject or topic. And also, it's important, even though it is necessary that you allocate more time for difficult subjects, you don't have to mix, you don't have to study similar subject back to back. You have to alternate it. So in the morning, okay, I'll study Greek. In the afternoon, I'll study maths. In the evening, I'll study English. Or you may want to do, okay, I'll study literature in English in the morning because when I study that subject in the morning, it takes better. Then I'll do some calculation in the afternoon. You don't have to do, I'll do English, 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 maths, 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 Greek, Greek, Greek. You have to alternate. That will help you a lot. And then this point is very important. You have to make sure that you create room for revision and past question. So even though revision and past question is not or they are not subject, but they must feature, they must find a place on your personal timetable. And you have to dedicate time weekly for revision and also for past paper practice. Past paper practice is very important. And we just looked at the importance of using past questions. Aside that, this is also important. You have to include breaks and rest period. Don't stretch or stress your brain. If your attention span is 30 minutes, or if you can give your full attention to study for an hour, make sure you study for 1 hour and then you rest for maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes. You walk around, talk to a friend, or sing, or just, sit there, close your eyes and rest. Let your brain refresh, let your brain rest. And one important thing you have to take note is that you need to know yourself. So if somebody sits for 2 hours continuous, don't say because my friend sits for 2 hours without breaks, so I have to also sit for 2 hours. No, know yourself. Effective learning is more important than just sitting for prolonged hours without achieving anything. So if 30 minutes works for you, you can decide to study for 2 hours. So within that 2 hours, you study for the first 30 minutes, you take a break, maybe a 15 minutes break. You come for another 30 minutes, a 15-minute break, or it could be 10 minutes break. So first 30 minutes, then you take 10 minutes break, you come back another 30 minutes, you take another 10 minutes break, you come back another 30 minutes, you take 10 minutes break. You are done with your 2 hours. You've done effective, productive learning. Instead of sitting for that 2 hours continuous, you will stress your brain. And also, you have to be realistic. and flexible. There is no need trying to overload your day. Try to do effective learning. So if you can do effective learning for 2 hours or 3 hours on weekdays, do that. Do that. It is important to be consistent with that 2 hours instead of saying I'll do 6 hours in a day. Then you find yourself doing just 30 minutes in a day. No, it wouldn't help. Stick to that 2 hours. Stick to a time that you know that you can do productive learning, effective learning within that time span. Do that. And also on your weekends, no weekdays, because of school hours, you may not have a lot of time. But on weekends, you may have more time than on weekdays. So you can push most of your activities, learning activities to the weekends. But do not neglect the weekdays. Make sure that you study on weekdays as well and make good use of the preps period. If you're a day student, you can create your own preps. So if you know that your colleagues on campus will be at preps between 7 to 9, you make sure that you are disciplining yourself at home 7 to 9. You join them in spirit, in spirit for preps. Then another thing that it's important is prioritization of core subjects. You know, irrespective of the grade you would get in your electives, if you don't do well in a core subject, you may have challenges advancing to the tertiary level. So, what for science students, you pay particular attention to English, maths, and science. It doesn't mean that social studies is not important, it is important, but you need to give more attention to English, maths, and science. But if you're a science student, then you are interested in the humanities, art related programs. That's what you are looking for. Then certainly your English, maths, social studies to is necessary. And for the art students, English, maths, social studies, and integrated science. For those art students who are interested in advancing to the uh, nursing training colleges, yes, you need your integrated science. So pay particular attention to that. Then another thing that most students don't do, but it helps a lot, you can form study groups. 2 or 3 people form study groups and do effective learning. You share your ideas, you test your knowledge, and know one thing with study groups is that once you are sharing your ideas, somebody may say something that will give you a new perspective to something you are studying. You may not have thought about it, but the way somebody will explain it, you realize that, oh, if you adopt that mode of explanation, it will help you a lot. Or that strategy the person uses to learn, that one is easier, that one will help you. So when you study and you collaborate with others, there's a lot you stand to gain. Yes, I know that there are some people who cannot be effective in study groups. They are in a minority. There are a lot of people that will function well in study groups. So make good use of study groups. Join one if you don't have. Then make sure you teach somebody. Don't be selfish. Teach somebody. You can teach your colleague, or when you go for your study group meetings, teach somebody. When you explain something to somebody, you understand it better. It will deepen your understanding. The kind of questions people will ask you, you realize that if you've not prepared effectively, you will notice that there are some gaps in your knowledge, and that will help you to go back and fill in those gaps. So it helps a lot. Don't be selfish. Share your knowledge with somebody, and it will build your confidence. When you teach people, you will not be anxious about the exam. Oh, I taught this person this, I taught that person that. So if this particular thing comes, I don't have any problem at all. Then it also will reinforce your memory in that, when you say something aloud or you write it or even act it out, it sticks better. So it is important that you share your knowledge with others. Then next point, it's so important. So important. You need to rest. You need to rest. Avoid last minute cramming. Your brain is a muscle. Allow it to rest. So you rest, you revise, you rest, you revise, rest, you revise. And as I indicated earlier on, avoid last minute cramming. At least try to sleep before exam, try to prepare. Sometimes because of inadequate preparation, we don't sleep the day before an exam. We'll spend the whole night trying to read something. But if you have prepared adequately, you just be calm, you rest, you do a little revision here and there, then you rest, you allow your brain to feel refreshed. You wake up energized, you wake up rejuvenated, and you go and then you deal with the paper. All right. Now, there are certain things that you must know on the day of the exams. There are certain things that it's important that you pay critical attention to. The first thing is you have to obey the rubrics of the paper. You have to read and understand what the instructions are before you even attempt. So if they say do not open or turn this page until you are told to do so, you obey it. You obey it. You read the instructions and do what it says you should do. Don't be in a hurry. Take your time to read and understand questions. Read and understand questions before you attempt to answer them. Because poor understanding will lead to deviation. If you don't understand the question, you will deviate. And as it is often said, understanding of the question, expert of the question. So you need to understand before you make an attempt to answer. So it's important you take your time. Don't rush. Take your time. Then in answering the questions, make sure, try as much as possible to provide answers that are concise. How lengthy your answers are will not affect your, if your answers are lengthy, you are not going to get additional marks. The examiner will be looking for keywords, key points in it. If he finds them, fine. So you don't need to, be verbose in your answers. Try as much as possible to be concise and also present your answers in an orderly manner. Present it so nicely. There should be spaces in there, and try as much as possible to write clearly. Because if the examiner cannot make sense of what you've written, he or she cannot award you the marks that you deserve because they cannot read what you've written. So it is important that you make effort to write clearly for anybody who takes your paper to read without difficulties. Then it's important that you check your spellings. Make sure that you know certain key uh, scientific terms. It's important if you're a science student, or the key terms for your subject area is important. You have to know them. Then this particular point, use appropriate diction. Use appropriate diction. So for example, you use lack of when you are referring to something that is completely absent. But if what you mean is that something exists, but it is not in is not enough, then you don't use lack of. You write inadequate, insufficient. So you don't say lack of storage facilities. When when what you are trying to talk about is that there are some storage facilities, it's just that they are not enough, then you have to state insufficient storage facilities or inadequate storage facilities. So diction is very important. If you write lack of, the possibility that you will lose marks or even lose all the marks for that particular question is high. So try to use the appropriate words. All right, so on this note, I encourage you to keep preparing and never give up. I wish you well. I wish you success in your exams. I pray that you succeed because your success will excite me. And I'll be happy you share with me that, oh, I came across this channel and I picked some nuggets of wisdom here that helped me to attain success in my exams. If today is your first time, subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification bell. I'll see you in the next one.